The 2025 season is now coming to a close, and hard though we try at Motorboat and Yachting magazine to sea trial every boat we can get our hands on, some boats at shows and exhibitions around the world we have to conduct a static yacht tour instead. So what follows is what we deem to be the 10 most promising boats we've toured in 2025. We're in Oslo and it's late November, so as you'd expect, it's cold. Really properly cold. It's wet and it's blustery too, but if ever there was a boat designed to look after us in conditions like this is probably it. In the wake of the award-winning Marri 440, we've come here to Oslo to sea trial this, the deeply impressive Marri 390. And frankly, if you enjoyed the award-winning flagship, the 440, and why wouldn't you, then you're definitely going to enjoy this, because it does a great many of the same things, gives you the same order of experience on a smaller, more affordable, more manageable platform. It's thoughtfully designed, it's beautifully built, it's a lot of fun to drive, and actually I'd have to say it's probably the most sociable 40-foot cruiser it's ever been my pleasure to review. It's no secret that here at MBY we are very big fans of Absolute's trawler-style Navetta line. So it's great news that they've chosen the Cannes Yachting Festival for the world premiere of a brand new model, and it's this, the Absolute Navetta 62. We'll use the starboard steps, given that the port steps are currently in the raised position. And when we get into the cockpit, well, it's a lovely big space, certainly. Made to feel all the more so by these cutaway bulwarks on both sides, that glass balustrade aft. And the fact that we use freestanding furniture here rather than fixed moulded units. Now they're currently orchestrated facing inboard, so you can get best use from that glass balustrade, but you can of course configure them in whatever way you choose. And when we get to the bow, well, this is the kind of layout we see from various brands, and it's nicely executed here. A reversible backrest, so you can organise quite a sociable little lunch, where you can raise that table and use it more like a dining table. A good sunbed unit round the front there. Very nicely done in teak, this, I have to say. The table's teak as well. Plenty of space inside these units on either side for your fenders. Little pop-up LED lights. And of course, as you'd expect, you can also rig a sunshade over the bow to keep the worst of the sun off. And if we head now into the saloon, well, for me, if there's a wow section on this boat, it has to be this. For a start, the proportions are enormous. Lovely big beam. The open plan thing helps with that a lot. And if I spin the camera around, you'll see that headroom is really fantastic for a proper flybridge cruiser. But of course, that's what you can do with a trawler style of design. Got lovely vertical windows all round, and it maximises your volume, maximises your views, maximises your light. And as you can see by the dining station here on the starboard side, we've got a drop-down window, so you can get a nice through draft and feel a little bit better connected to the outside world. So there we are. Isn't that a cool boat? I hope you can see, I hope I've illustrated why we at MBY are such tremendous fans of Absolute's Navetta line. It's big, it's voluminous, it looks great, it's beautifully put together, and in terms of the flow of spaces and the cruising practicality, it makes tremendous sense without in any way adopting anything formulaic or standardised from the rest of the sector. It feels very distinctly Absolute, and it's all the better for it.
Delta powerboats are a personal favourite of mine. I love the way that they use lightness and simplicity to create really fast, efficient, good-looking boats. And behind me here is their latest design. This is the new Delta 72. So let's get on board, have a look around, and I'll explain a little bit more about why an all-carbon fibre boat can make a huge difference to your enjoyment on board. The stern is deliberately kept very nice and clean. We've got a transformer platform here that lifts up and over and out, so you can go up to the quay or down into the water. So we've talked a bit about the way this has been built using carbon fibre for all the key elements, particularly the hull and the deck and the hardtop. And what that does is reduce the weight from what would probably be something like a 45, 50-ton boat down to 31 tonnes light. And that makes a huge difference. So the performance from those twin IPS 1350s, it'll be a maximum speed of around 41 knots. But rather than the outright speed, it's the efficiency that really comes into play. Because when you're cruising at 30 knots, this boat uses just 6.1 litres per nautical mile. And for a big 72-foot coupe like this, that is very impressive, particularly given the speed it also gives you if you want to get a bit of a move on.
If you're looking for a big, voluminous, flybridge-equipped power cat between about 45 and 50 feet in length, and you also want one that makes some particularly ingenious choices in terms of its deck layouts, then this new 46 yacht from Aquila is one you probably need to take a look at. Now, as with any cat, the beam is of course key. This is a 47-foot boat with a beam of about 23 foot 3 inches. So that's pretty significant. And you certainly feel that when you step on at the back end. There's loads of space at this platform just aft of the cockpit. It's symmetrical when you climb up into the cockpit itself, where you get the benefit of the full beam in here, a forward-looking bench at the aft end, a couple of stools at the bar that kind of straddles the threshold between the internal galley and the external cockpit. There's plenty of refrigeration too at the aft end on the starboard side behind that dinette. But what we really want to do, I think, on this boat is pop down these steps, ignore the porthole and the starboard hull, and pop straight into the owner's cabin. As you can see, full beam. There are those windows we were talking about. As you can see, it looks out to that open bench to preserve your views. And it's quite nicely laid out. We've got a slightly raised deck level, kind of intermediate deck level for the bed itself, plenty of space on either side, and then steps down to the starboard side, a lower level where we've got a neat little desk and loads more storage, huge windows as well, and a little mirror there. If you move back up and over to the port side, well, this is even better, particularly if you want to use this boat for long-term cruising, which many people will. His and hers sinks, lots more cabinetry, another vast window, and the facilities are split. We have the toilet forward in a very bright space beneath that hatch, with its own little hole window as well. So that is the new Aquila 46 yacht. It's certainly very large, very voluminous. The deck layouts are pretty pleasing in a lot of ways, and there's plenty of versatility there as well in the options, not least the option for a 3, 4 or 5 cabin layout. Now, this is certainly a very competitive sector now, as everybody knows, but I think that's a pretty impressive piece of work from Aquila.
Polish builder Galeon has been producing some of the most innovative boats of recent years. You can see some of them behind me. This is the new 620 Fly with its folding balconies. Or here we've got the 450 HTC. But trust me, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is the new 430 Explorer, and it is completely out of this world in terms of everything. Its looks, its features, its value for money. It is quite an extraordinary boat, and that starts with the styling. My name is Hugo Andre, you're watching Motorboat and Yachting. Let's go and tour it. Just check out the frontal view of this new Explorer. It really is in your face, and deliberately so. It's completely uncompromising. It looks a bit like a tugboat, and that's deliberate. It's an Explorer. It needs to look tough, no nonsense. It is very beamy at this bow, and you can see just how vertical it is, just how wide it is, and we've got those sort of flared cheeks that come out and produce even more volume inside. We've got this really upright, tall windscreen that is actually reverse angled in that kind of explorer yacht aesthetic. We've got folding balconies everywhere, huge glass windows. Now, prices for this new Galeon 430 Explorers start at around 800,000 euros, but by the time you've specced it up with all the cool features like these carousel seats, the folding balconies and everything else, realistically it's going to be about 1.1, 1.2 million euros ex taxes. Now that is quite a lot of money, but then again it is such an extraordinary boat. There is so much going on, so much to explain, so much to enjoy. I guess the big question is, does it all add up to a better boat? I'm not sure I really know the answer to that yet. I still haven't got my head around it. The styling alone takes a certain amount of getting used to, but I do think it's fascinating and I'm hugely impressed at all the innovation that Galeon just keep on coming up with. Explorer yachts are all the rage at the moment, but behind me here is a really interesting new player. This is the new Outer Reef 780 Adventure, and it's an explorer yacht, but with a twist. Now I'm going to show you all about this, tell you everything there is to know, and give you a full tour of the yacht. Let's take a quick tour of the decks first, because this is a full walk-around design. We've got these really tall bulwarks on the side. They provide plenty of protection. Obviously very nice wide side decks. You've got full protection overhead, grab rails up the steps. That's what I mean by solid steel design. You can hear it, you can feel it. It's an extremely robust yacht. And of course, weight really isn't an issue if you've got a full displacement yacht. So here we've got tender storage, really big Williams Sport Jet 435. I think you can get bigger models on too. There's certainly space up here. You can see it could go quite a bit further forward if you wanted it to. Opaque Marri crane, I think that is good for about 2 tons. We've got another jet ski here. This looks like a Sea-Doo Spark, but again, you could get bigger, heavier ones here if you wanted to. Let's finish up this tour of the Outer Reef 780 Adventure here on the foredeck with those 2 tenders behind me in the background. Now, prices for this boat start at about 6.25 million euros. Now, that is a chunk of money, but then this is a serious chunk of boat and exactly the kind of craft that really appeals to me. I like the fact that it's got all the range and robustness and seakeeping of a heavy-duty explorer yacht, but the interior of something a bit lighter and more modern. I also rather like that 4-cabin layout. I'm not the kind of person that necessarily needs a huge full-beam owner's cabin, but I love the fact that you've got the option to have that if you want to. Personally, I would want to make that crew cabin a little bit more accessible and go for the access through the lower corridor. I would also want the internal and external staircase up to the flybridge. But that is the beauty of this yacht. You can customize it to suit your exact needs.
The Nordic offshore pilot house market is a very exciting sector. We've seen some tremendous boats from the likes of Sargo and Target in the past couple of decades, but actually the daddy of that form of boat has to be Nordstar. They're established more than 100 years ago in 1920, and they've turned up here at the Southampton Boat Show with their flagship model, the Nordstar 49 Plus. Now, 49 feet is, of course, relatively large by the standards of the offshore pilot house market. Now, we do have a Sargo 45, which gets close at around about 48 feet. There's also a Targa 46, which is a comparable sort of size. But as I say, this is the flagship of the Nordstar fleet. And if we step on board at the aft end, what's particularly interesting to me here, other than the fact that we got the cruiser configuration in the saloon, we'll see that in a little bit, is the fact that this boat illustrates just how custom friendly the Nordstar yard is. This new flagship model from the original Finnish builder of offshore pilot house cruisers then is a bit of a treat, and it's also highly distinctive. Now, part of the reason for that are the personal choices made by the owner of this showboat, And as I say, it comes in at 1.3 million pounds, including VAT. And part of the reason for that is the fact that he spec'd it up so much and used custom ideas all over this boat. But the base package goes from £1 million, including VAT, which is much more in line with the general prices of the sector. And if you take this platform and you spec it up with a more conventional U-shaped seating zone in the aft cockpit and the additional seating modules in the bow, plus that excellent value flybridge up top, then it really excels in a way that very few other boats in this sector are able to match.
Palma may be known for its glamorous open day boats, but behind me here is one of the best ocean-going craft I think I've probably ever seen. This is the Fleming 60, and it is quite exceptional in terms of the specification, the engineering, and the build quality. Well, this is the command center of the yacht, and it really feels like that. Two huge 24-inch Garmin screens. We have a full Bonin control system, so you can check the engines, you can go into the menu, you can check what the bilges are doing, light systems everywhere. If you go to sea, it'll tell you exactly what's open, what's closed, the little indicators will light up. So you've got full control of the entire yacht. But what they are particularly good at is building in redundancy and access to absolutely everything. So if anything goes down, if the electronics go down, you can, first of all, you've got all the breaker switches there, but then behind this, just check this out. Look inside there. You've got full access to all the electronics in there, and you can manually switch everything on and off if you need to. It is extraordinarily robust, practical, sensibly designed boat. Traditional ship's wheel, big STID captain's chair, full control of everything. You can see you can control the Garmin touchscreens from this control in the armrest. It is a twin disc control system. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get down to the engine room, but you've got twin disc gearboxes on the MAN engines. You have full hydraulic thrusters. They are 40 horsepower each, proportional hydraulic thrusters. You can absolutely move the boat on the spot, and you have a joystick control system with station hold. So you press that button, it will virtually lock the boat in position. You can then go out and put fenders and lines out if you're waiting for a lock or some such. But I'll describe a little bit more about that when we see the engine room. But even here, this whole thing is wrapped in a lovely teak frame. There are those big upright windows, so you've got fantastic visibility looking forward. They've all got blinds on them. And look at all the electronic systems. Everything is accessible, everything is beautifully labeled, everything is engineered to within an inch of its life. Even the toolbox has its own dedicated storage space. Right, let's go back on deck. Let's finish up our tour of the Fleming 60, sitting in the captain's chair in this wonderful bridge deck. Now, a couple of other figures you might want to know about. So fuel tank size, it carries 5,500 litres. And because at a displacement speed of 8 knots, you are burning just 35 litres per hour, that is what gives that astonishing 2,000 nautical mile range. Now, the hull is equally capable. It is category A rated, so it can take you pretty much anywhere you want in the world. Now, there is one other figure you're going to want to know, and that is the price. And a boat like this, with the engineering and the build integrity that hopefully I've given you a good idea of, is not a cheap option. Prices start at 4.4 million US dollars. But certainly for me, this is one of the ultimate liveaboard boats. You've got the hull to do it, you've got the engineering to do it, you've got the build quality to do it. You could live on here for weeks, possibly even months at a time, and genuinely cruise the world. We know how much you enjoy seeing some quite unusual, different boats, and when they're as special as the one behind me, I can completely see why. So this is a proper treat. This is the brand new Stila B62 Beach Club. And it is a full custom-built aluminium boat. It's built in the Netherlands, and it has some totally unique features. And I am going to show you every single inch of it. Let's go and tour it. just point out we've got some storage in here for kind of fenders and things. So even though it's a very clean look, it is surprisingly practical. But check this out. So right in the forepeak, this lovely little bow lounge, but not just a bow lounge. There is actually a second helm position here. How cool is that? You've got throttles, joystick, thrusters. You can sit right here in the forepeak, take control of the boat, and because it's that really strong, stiff aluminium hull, there's not the kind of shaking you get from a lightweight GRP thing. So you can sit here, drive it from the forepeak, right, all the controls you need, cruise along, slow speed, even at planing speed, I'm told it's perfectly comfortable. That is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. Again, real leather. Obviously we've got an anchor locker in there. You can see it's buried right down in there, but the anchor pops out through the hull. There you can see some of that aluminium build. Just look how solid and sturdy that is, all these reinforcing structures. There's a ladder down there so you can get right down into the anchor well. But let's not waste any more time with that. There's too much else to see. Let's finish up then sitting at one of these rather fine beach club stools. Now that is a really fascinating boat. Completely different layout, completely different look. But you know what? I think it really works. There are obviously little bits that you probably want to change. I'm personally not a big fan of this particular floor. I probably would want the real deal teak just to make it look a little bit more special. I think I'd go for a lighter finish in that upper saloon. But I am absolutely loving this beach club area. The whole point of going out on a boat is to enjoy the sea, and this looks like the ideal place to do that. Now, admittedly, this is not a cheap boat. It's a full custom build, so prices start at around 3.8 million euros. But of course, the beauty of a full custom boat is you can specify exactly how you want. So if you want a different layout in the beach club, a different finish in the interior, and again, because it's aluminium rather than GRP, you can have a completely different layout. If you want two bigger cabins, for example, or an extra bathroom, that's relatively easy to do because you're not held back by having to have the bulkheads in a particular place.
I like to be as balanced and fair to everyone as I can, but like everybody, I also have my favourites, and this is one of them. Welcome to the Mulder 1700, which appropriately enough is part of Mulder's Favorite model range. And it's called that for a good reason, because as you can see, it is spectacularly beautiful. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mulder is a Dutch yard, and it builds in aluminium to an extraordinarily high standard, not just in terms of the physical construction and solidity of the craft, but also in terms of the detailing and customization. And I will show you all of that in just a second.
Couple of little details and facts and figures about this boat before we finish up. So the range of this boat should be around 600 nautical miles at 10 knots. Really decent range. Now, top speed is 22 knots, but most of the time you are likely to cruise at that kind of 10 to 12 knot zone. Pricing, clearly not a cheap boat. So 2.95 million euros starting price, but hopefully you've seen where that money goes.
Now, I think you'll agree there are plenty of very exciting platforms amongst that 10 we just mentioned. We'll obviously try our best to sea trial those boats as the weather warms up again in the spring. But in the meantime, for me, the standout boats have to be the Marri's 390 and that absolute Navetta 62. Whether you agree with that or not, please do let us know what you think in the section below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you subscribe to the Motorboat and Yachting channel.